Trigonometry and Pythagoras theorem. Let's have a look at this topic. A lot of people get confused on whether to use Pythagoras theorem or trigonometry. So let's take a look and then have a go at some exam questions together. Pythagoras theorem. The formula for this is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. This should be given in your formula sheet in your exam paper, but double check with your school and teacher. Here we have a right angled triangle and all we need to label it is with A, B and C. The C is always the slanted bit of the triangle, so also known as the hypotenuse, and it doesn't matter which way around your A and B goes. Then for trigonometry, there is a formula we have, but the way we remember this formula is using SOH, CA, TOA. SOH is SOH, CA is CAH, and TOA is TOA. These are the formulas that go with it. So sin angle is equal to O divided by H. Cos angle is A divided by H. And then tan angle is O divided by A. Again, this is for right angled triangles only, as well as Pythagoras theorem. Here's our right angled triangle. We label this slightly different compared to Pythagoras theorem. We label it with the hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. The hypotenuse is your slanted bit. Opposite is opposite the given angle, and then you have adjacent. You also need to be aware of inverse. This is usually worked out for angles. Let's have a go at this exam question. ABC is a right angled triangle. A to B is 8 centimeters and B to C is 11 centimeters. Calculate the length of A to C, which is this bit here, and give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So in order to establish whether this is a Pythagoras theorem question or a trigonometry question, is first thing we need to know, is it a right angled triangle? Yes. So as it's a right angled triangle, that means the easiest way to always do is using the Pythagoras theorem first. So Pythagoras theorem is typically used when you've got two given lengths and you're working out your missing length. It's not used for angles, so make sure you know that Pythagoras theorem is only for lengths if you're given two lengths and you're working out the missing one. If that is not applicable, that means we're going to use trigonometry. So we need to know, is it a right angled triangle? And are we finding a length with two given lengths? So as we can see, it's a right angled triangle because of the little square in the corner. And then we have two lengths. We've got 8 centimeters and 11 centimeters. And we're trying to find a missing length. So that means we'll tick both of these. Good. So that means we can use Pythagoras theorem. So let's label our triangle with A, B, and C. Remember, C is always the slanted. Doesn't matter which way around your A and B goes. Now we just have to put these numbers into the formula. So A squared means our 8 becomes squared. So we do 8 squared. Then our B squared is 11 squared. And that's going to equal to C squared, which is what we're trying to work out. Now we have to work out all of our numbers. So 8 centimeters squared is 8 times 8. And 8 times 8 is 64. So it'll be 64 centimeters. Plus 11 times 11, which is 121 centimeters. And that gives us our C squared. Which is 185 centimeters. So C squared is equal to 185 centimeters. because we've got c squared, we actually need c. So we need to do the square root of 185 just to get our c, because the opposite of squared is square root. So we do square root of c, and when you put this in your calculator, you should get 13.60147 and so on. But remember, they want the answer correct to 3 significant figures, so that means we only want the first 3 numbers here. So C would be equal to 13.6 centimeters. And that's it for this question. Let's have a go at another exam question. PQR is a triangle. Angle PQR is 90 degrees. P to Q is 12.5 centimeters and Q to R is 5 centimeters. Calculate the value of X. In this case, we can see that we've got two given lengths, but we're not calculating a length, we're calculating an angle. So that means we're going to use trigonometry. So I'm just jotting down the formula and everything we know about trigonometry. So we know the formulas, and we need to make sure we label our triangle with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So let's label our triangle here. O for opposite the angle, also the one we're trying to work out, so as long as it's not opposite the 90-degree angle. Then H for our hypotenuse, and A is our last one, which is our adjacent. Now we have to figure out which 2 letters have something next to it. So as we can see, the O has a 12.5, the O has the 5 centimeters, and the A has the 12.5. So that means those are the 2 we're going to use, the O and the A. The H doesn't have anything. So which formula uses both O and A? So if you check all of them, tan angle is equal to O divided by A. So this formula is the one that has both of them in it. So what we're going to do is use our tan angle, which is equal to O divided by A formula. Now we just have to substitute all our numbers. So in this case, we don't have a value for angle because that's what we're trying to calculate. So our angle becomes X. So it would say tan X is equal to O, which is 5 centimeters, divided by A, which is 12.5. So it's the same formula, we're just substituting what we know. Now what we need to do is solve for X. This is because we want to get X on its own. So it's kind of like algebra. We're trying to get X on its own. So in this case, we don't want the tan. So what we have to do is take the tan to the other side of the formula. So the opposite of tan is tan inverse. So now what happens, the formula becomes X, because X on its own, X is equal to tan inverse, and then 5 divided by 12.5 inside a bracket. And all we have to do is put this exactly as it is into the calculator. And this should give us X is equal to 21.8014, so on. And they want the answer correct to 1 decimal place. So that means the answer becomes 21.8. And that's it for this one. Let's have a go at our last exam question. ABC is a right-angled triangle. Angle B is 90 degrees. Angle A is 36 degrees. A to B is 8.7 centimeters. Work out the length of B to C. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So looking at this exam question, it's a right-angled triangle, so that means we're going to use Pythagoras theorem and trigonometry. But how do we know which one? So remember, Pythagoras theorem is when you're given two lengths. In this case, we only have one length, so that means we're going to use trigonometry. So here we have to label our triangle with hypotenuse, opposite and adjacent. And as the question says, work out the length of B to C, I'm going to just put an X there so I know what we're trying to calculate. Good, now let's label our triangle. Remember, hypotenuse is your slanted part. Opposite is opposite the angle. In this case, opposite the angle would be 36. So opposite our 36 would be our O, and then the last bit is the A. Now we have to figure out which two letters are we going to use. So the H doesn't have any numbers, the A has the 8.7 and the O has the X. So those are the two letters we're going to use. So O and A is the tan formula. So tan 36, which is our given angle, is equal to X over 8.7. So again, what we need to do is solve for X. We need to get X on its own. So in this case, we don't want the dividing by 8.7. So we just have to take that over to the other side. And when we take it to the other side of the equals, it becomes times. So now the formula is 8.7 times tan 36 is equal to X. So now we just put that straight into our calculator as it is, and we should get X is equal to 6.32091 ... And we have to give our answer correct to 3 significant figures, so it would just be the first 3 numbers, so the answer is 6.32 centimeters.